Yeah. Boom. I think that is, we're live.
We are live. We are
We
live
are
15, 17 minutes.
What is up, everybody? Today, sorry we're coming in a little late today. We just had to have, little conversations and stuff, but we're jumping right into it today because I'm sure there's a lot we want to talk about. But today, for the metalheads, the moonshiners, strap in and crank it up, because tonight we're not just turning up the radio, we're turning up the damn legacy tonight. Joining us is a man who didn't just play the guitar, he wrote the rules with it. Like, he straight up rewrote. He was like, old rules, you're out, new rules, my rules, right? A shredder, a scientist of the sound, a godfather of the two-handed tapping who left jaws on the floor and fretboards smoking. Man, the main guitarist from the band Autograph, Mr. Stephen Lynch. Boom.
Hello, everybody. Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Now,
Steve, thanks for coming on.
We also have joining us tonight is Mr. Dan Gray. He is promoter. He's behind the Farm to Bottle. I think it's the Block Party or something on the block, but we'll let him discuss about that.
Yeah,
that Rock the Block. That's what it is. Boom.
Block.
Everybody, let's welcome Dan Gray to the stage tonight as well. Boom.
Hey,
Dan. Hey,
what's
Dan.
happening?
Right. I tried. Listen, I'm sure you've had better intros before, but I gave it hell, my friend.
I thought it was brilliant.
It looks like I got a haircut, but I didn't.
Right, I did.
Had to pull all that shag back here. It was all sweaty and nasty from working up on the roof at my house today.
Roofing sucks, dude. No roofing.
It's brutal outside right now.
I'm telling you. It's even worse brutal on the roof of a house.
So,
I
I've never been outside doing that kind of shit, man, right off the bat. But
the soles of your shoes will start to melt to the roof.
I want to point out one thing, Steve, that when I was going through your bio stuff, amazingly enough, this is how me and my partner here, we always talk about energies and how they connect. And there's always something that connects these energies.
Full circle.
Bro, you have the same exact birth date as my wife.
Oh, very cool.
But not the same year.
I'm not going to marry you, though. I refuse to marry you. I'm sorry.
Not the same year. She's a little younger, but I mean, shit. That's how these little strange things work. I was looking at my jaw. I was like, oh, my God, man, he's got the same birthday as my wife. That's super cool. So,
January 18th, yeah.
Yep. So in honor, I was trying, but I couldn't dig it out. But one of my questions for you tonight is, like, throughout all of your stuff, and especially during the 80s, like, what was the highest hairstyle you ever ran into? Because my wife probably could have put up a run. Like, that shit was like... Have you seen some big ones, man? Like, were they way up there?
Aquanet. They used Aquanet back then. Aquanet was the hairspray that they used to keep their hair up like that. My father was a hairstylist, so I knew what Aquanet was.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't use Aquanet. I tried it once, and I sweat so much on stage. It all went into my eyes, and I couldn't see anything. And so my eyes were burning. I almost walked off the front of the stage and everything. I couldn't see anything. So that was a one and done kind of thing. But yes, I remember the hairstyles. Some of them reminded me of those, those guards in front of Buckingham Palace with the helmet.
Yeah.
Helmets.
Some of them look like that,
That's great.
Some women definitely still have hair helmets. A hair helmet is a real thing. It's
absolutely. Yeah.
Some of them can stop the bullet.
The hairspray my wife uses called Helmet Head. So is there any connection? Do you have any connection with, like, the whiskey industry or any other than drinking a lot of it on tour? I bet, but like, so like. just a little about me. I won the Master Distiller show. I had to make
cool.
I had to make moonshine out of day old pastries, right?
Oh,
So like I made shine out of donuts and cakes and stuff like that. And
yeah.
I always so like that's one of the things I like to try to find if that's a common interest. Like, you know, what's your flavor of choice if you drink?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And what do you like to drink?
Oh, pick
Well,
me.
I like what I like is good red wine, and I like Captain Morgan and Diet Coke. That's like my favorite right there. And I like some whiskeys. As far as flavored whiskey goes, I would say probably the orange or the cinnamon flavored whiskey. Just as far as a little bit of flavor in it. We used to drink Jack Daniels a lot back in the 70s anyway. And I just kind of lost my taste for it. I think I drank too much of it. So
you said
I backed off of that, but
you said orange cinnamon?
Orange or cinnamon flavored whiskeys. I tried a couple of them, and they were really good, actually.
That's
Jack
what
Daniels
I wanted
has,
to show with.
one out.
I made a
orange honey Jack Daniels. Was it honey Jack Daniels that they have?
That's a good one. Honey Jack or honey wild turkey's good.
Yeah, right.
But what I made was
the
orange cinnamon roll sipping cream. So
what's that now?
It's called orange cinnamon roll sipping cream.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so
that sounds delicious, right?
It is. My mom used to make the cinnamon rolls for Christmas and stuff like that, and they'd had the orange glaze on them. And so what I'm known for at home in the moonshine world here at home is my orange creamsicle. So that is.
I want to try that.
I will absolutely.
That. Now, are you going to be at the Rock the Block then?
When is that?
It's
July.
Maggie Valley weekend.
Bro.
Every year, that's why I can't ever go to Maggie Valley because it's always the same weekend that I have Rock the Block.
Oh, man. Well, where are you going to be this close?
If you can get me away,
I'll get you.
If you can find a way to maybe send something to Dan or something so I can check it out while we're there. And I'd love to do that. That would be great.
We'll be at the man cave. What day are you leaving to go to Maggie Valley?
So that's my birthday weekend. So we're allowed to set up the day before. So that's the 24th. I think we'll be there the 23rd or the 24th. Something like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you was leaving on the 23rd and you came through southwestern Ohio on the way down to North Carolina, you might be able to meet up with 2 of the 4 people that's on this screen tonight.
Awesome.
At the man cave, this place back here.
Look at this place. Right? Look, hey, I'd take you in my man cave, Dan, but you might be like your Michigan picture.
Right?
We're all Pittsburgh here, man. Black.
Oh yeah, I figured that. But you're from Pittsburgh, so it kind of makes sense. I take issue with Ohio people who are Pittsburgh fans.
Listen, we like Ohio. Big Bang came from there, so that's a good thing. But let's get into this book. Right?
All right.
I have a question for Steve too. I got a question for him about. I saw that he traveled and did some touring in the 70s, and then you went to tech school for guitar, and then after you went to tech school, you went on and were traveling in the 80s with the band Autograph.
That's correct.
My one question to you is which was a more wild tour, before you went to guitar school, or was it more of a wild tour when you went in the 80s with the hair bands?
Oh, much more wild with the hair bands in the 80s. Oh yeah,
in the 80s.
I mean, it was fun in the 70s when I was touring then, but it was mainly up in the Pacific Northwest, Washington State, Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, Montana, Utah, and on up into British Columbia. That's mainly what we played back in the 70s. But we were all over the place in the 80s, so it was a wild time then.
Yeah, because you did a lot of you were on the road a lot, man. Right? As far as like
Oregon, we did.
I mean, dude, you were doing clinics like teaching music too and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
that's where I saw the most of the world. You know, most of what I saw abroad was when I was doing the clinics, because I did 20 different countries. I taught in 20 different countries, you know, promoting my 3 books and St. Louis music and all that. And so it was a great time. I loved doing that. And it was good money, so I didn't mind that at all. So,
that's important.
but yeah,
that, man.
yeah.
Well,
It was
Nothing
cool.
wrong with that at all.
Speaking of that Pacific Northwest, I got a question for you, Steve. And Jason, I'll probably bounce a few questions too, because I've read a lot of the book and whatever. But one that we didn't cover on the Rock the Block interview we did that I wanted to ask, but I kind of left it away, was some chick on there you was talking about that was like the demon witch bitch or something like that. It's in the book there somewhere.
We gotta hear that. Yes.
Gotta hear about that story.
Let's hear it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was when it was in Montana, actually.
Go figure.
Yeah, go figure, right? But I was touring with my band Silverload up there, and I think it was Missoula, Montana, and I was sitting at the table on the break. You know, I was drinking my 7-Up, and this girl that looked like she was a total witch. I mean, you know, multicolored hair and layers of clothing with sparkles and everything in it, and really heavy white makeup with super black eyes and everything.
You're right.
And this was weird because it was like 1976, 77. So you didn't see, you know, people that look like that very often, especially in Montana. You know,
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
This was a psychedelic cowgirl, because she didn't look like anybody there.
From hell.
Yeah. But she spiked my 7-Up with LSD, and I didn't know it. And I got up on stage, and as we were playing, coming towards the end of the last set, it started to hit me, and I knew that feeling because I had experimented with it before. You know, years before. And so I'm going, oh man, that spiked my drink. And so anyway, so my guitar was starting to melt. It was moving all around and everything. There was a mirror behind the stage, and it looked like I was looking off into infinity and everything. I started playing the wrong songs and stuff. And so they're looking at me like, what are you playing? You know, and I don't know. You know,
I don't know.
So they on the last song, they looked over at me and they said, are you going to be able to make it through this? And I was staring off into oblivion at that time, and they just said, never mind, you know. And so we just folded it up at that point. And they all got off stage while I'm still standing there looking off into oblivion, you know. And so then we get back to the motel that night, and somehow this witch bitch called up my room. And she wanted me to, she was going to come over and pick me up to bring her back to her place so we could roller skate naked with just overcoats and roller skates and ski masks on. And I went, what? And right then I was like peaking on acid, and I just hung up the phone. I covered up my head with the blankets, and I just sat there and shook the whole night, thinking that the demon witch was going to come and possess me. You know, so it was just one of those things, you know, where you just go, "Oh, you can't make this stuff up. It's just so strange," you know. And,
right?
Yeah.
So lucky.
What's crazy about the book? What's crazy about the book is it's just one story like this after the next, where when you least expect it, you know, because it will happen, and it does happen. So.
Listen, I was reading somewhere where I saw a slip for school. I think, was it how many days?
Yeah. Oh,
51 days or something? Was there something?
51 days. So obviously I wasn't going to pass the 8th grade. That didn't work out. I was over at my friend's house, and we were smoking pot and playing guitar all day. And I found that much more fun than going to school, you know. And so
absolutely,
I was faking writing notes from my parents, you know, while all this was happening. But then when I wouldn't even show up for like a month, they got a little suspicious. But I don't think they really wanted me there anyway, because I had long hair and I won this kind of a battle with this whole school district about, you know, whether guys should be able to have long hair. I mean, this was like 1970, and so everybody had long hair, and so I got into a little bit of a bicker with, you know, we were back and forth bickering anyway, and so they said, yeah, there's really no reason why guys can't have long hair, and so all the students loved me at the school, but the teachers hated me. So when I didn't show up, they didn't say anything. You know.
Yeah.
I think they were glad.
Like, look at this hair, dude. You know what my grandmother would say? So we used to have a hockey player on her team named Yammer Yager, and he had long curly hair. And my grandmother used to go, "Oh my God, Jason. Oh, what I would know." My grandmother's in her 80s. She'd be like, "What I do to rub my fingers through that hair." That's what you would say about yours, bro. Like, you're a good looking dude, bro. Like, to have a head of hair like that, man. Like, God damn,
I don't
dude.
know. I got lucky
because I can only imagine what you had to go through when you know, when boom, now it's like you're big time. Now it's like you got to beat them away with a bat, dude. They're probably throwing themselves at you, bro. Like,
no reason to beat them away. Just bring them all with you. Just
can't
bring them all with
at once.
I mean, when we were young, you know, a lot of guys kind of got into bands to try to meet girls. You know, it was a thing.
True, yeah.
You know, I dressed up like Nikki Sixx at one time in school, and there were girls grabbing my butt that wouldn't even look at me a second the week before, but because I dressed up like Nikki Sixx, they were touching me. You know, it was cool.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's a good question. How did because you guys toured with Motley Crue, and how was that when you got the news for that, or was you already kind of at that point where you were like, you know, you did some bigger tours, but maybe this one might have stood out a little bit?
At that point we had already toured with Van Halen, of course. That was at the very beginning, and then we had toured with did some shows with Whitesnake. We toured with Aerosmith and Ronnie James Dio and Brian Adams. So
yeah, he was
Dio
talented. Dio,
what a cool guy too. I mean, he's just a
real
cool
Dio
guy.
Holyfield there.
Yeah, exactly. But I got to tell you this one story about Dio real quick. You know, he was only about, you know, I don't know, 5'2" or something.
He's not a big guy, right?
Yeah,
but anyway, Autograph had just gotten done playing their set, and we were walking. Me and the keyboard player were walking backstage, you know, and they had one of those small doors that you push the chairs into. You know, it's only about 3 feet high, and they push the chair racks into those things. And I turned and pointed at it, and I said to the keyboard player, I said, that must be Dio's door. And we both started laughing. And then there was this laughter behind us. And I turned around and I went, "Oh shit, Ronnie, I'm so sorry," you know. And so he thought it was really funny anyway. So I'm just going, "Oh my God, talk about you know, foot in the mouth right at the wrong time," you know. So anyway, no, he came up and he said, "No, Lynch, that was really good," you know. And I'd met him previously in rehearsal in North Hollywood, so we kind of knew each other, and so no, he was completely cool. So then a little bit later on, after they got done playing, you know, I saw them again backstage, and we were walking into their dressing room, and it had a regular sized door. And I said, "Ronnie, this isn't your door," you know. And he turned around and he smacked me in the arm. So we both started cracking up again. So we had that
right
going with us. You know?
So out of, like, you know, you've met a good bit of bands, I'm sure, and you know, doing what you do and stuff like that. Do you have a favorite that you like to tour with? And out of that band, is there a favorite one that you like to hang? Or you know what I'm saying? Like, who is your favorite out of all the ones?
You know, I really liked touring with Motley Crue, and I loved hanging out with Tommy. We didn't get a lot of chance to do that because each one of us were really busy. You know, they're band was huge. They just released Eater of Pain, and we were all, we were really, dominating the airwaves really well at that point. And so, but yeah, I would say that one. And I loved hanging out with Hart, with Howard Lease, lead guitar player for Hart. Really cool guy. I'm still in touch with him today. And pretty much everybody, I mean, had a blast with that, all the tours that we were on. Brian Adams was a super cool guy too. What a great singer and a great composer. But everybody that we toured with was really cool.
That's awesome, dude. Just to say that you've been like, you know what I mean? Like, how is that feeling when you're walking into like, okay, so I know you guys have played, what was it, 1980, 1984, 80, maybe 85 Madison Square Garden, like big.
1984, yeah.
Okay, so like walking
that's when we initially played there, yeah, with Van Halen, but we played there several times after. I mean,
how was that your
first? Because every tour that we did, we played Madison Square Gardens. Sometimes, so like, two nights in a row.
Your biggest one, like having that first professional feeling, like of walking out there, like holy shit, I made it. Because like I know for me,
oh my god, well, the first time we experienced that was when we opened for Van Halen. It was January 18th, 1984, which it was my birthday, right?
So, oh wow, that's kind of special.
Yeah.
Listen, I will say happy birthday to you every year from now on. Now that I know you're going to get a happy birthday from me, bro.
Right. And it was at this auditorium in Jacksonville, Florida, and when they turned the lights off, that was our first show with Van Halen, and we walked out on stage, and the lights were swirling, and I was pounding on my guitar, doing a bunch of riffs and everything, and Kenny was going crazy on the drums, and Randy and everybody. We just came on stage in this big menage, and the audience just went crazy. And the rush of that is so intense. It's like, here you are, you're standing backstage, and all the lights in the house are on, so it's brightly lit up. And then they shut off. Everybody starts going crazy. Then the guy with the flashlight, the backstage guy that leads you on stage, he turns on the flashlight and he goes, "You ready to go, guys?" We said, "Hell yeah!" Then
oh wow,
up those stairs and right out onto that stage, and the MC says, "Ladies and gentlemen from Los Angeles, please welcome Autograph." And then it just went, it went crazy. And so that was such a huge rush. A lot of these bands, they say later, well, it's more fun to play, in front of a smaller crowd, and I said, yeah, bullshit. It's like, are you kidding? That has no comparison whatsoever to play in a huge auditorium where the walls are
amazing.
Like, I go to some of these festivals and I'm into, like, Rich turned me on, like, I'm blaming Rich because Rich turned me on to some really heavy stuff. Like, if it ain't heavy, it ain't metal, baby. That's all we want in this house. You know what I mean? So, like, you see some of these shows, especially like festivals like Germany or Russia, dude, and like, you got the whole crowd. It's like you know what I mean? Like, I can only, like, dude, just talking about it and knowing that you have probably witnessed some craziness like that, like, my hair is up, man.
Feeling that energy.
Dude, it is unbelievable. You were so lucky. Oh man, to even be a part of that.
I consider myself very lucky to have been able to experience all of that. Not once, but literally hundreds of times. And so
listen, it's not luck at that point.
That you cherish.
It's not luck at that point, my friend. That's pure skill when you keep going back and going back, dude.
Yeah, if you keep doing it, that means you've got more than luck. You got some kind of.
You took all those chances. You took those chances. You created something and went for it, and you got to do that 250%. You can't. It's
a lot of people don't realize that it's a real crapshoot in this business, and it's that way for a lot of different careers, especially in the entertainment industry. But there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees, even if you become really proficient on your guitar or whatever instrument you play. and you become really good at writing. It just doesn't matter. It's the connections that you have. The timing's got to be perfect and everything, and you got to have the stage presence. You got to have all these different elements together, you know, and you got to connect with the right. Yes, you have to connect with the right record company, which was the case back then. Now, not so much anymore. But as far as distribution, you have to make that connection now. And so, anyway, you know, just when all those pieces do come together, you go, my God, you're one in a million. You're one in a million out of a million bands, not individuals. It's one in a million bands actually get a record deal and gets a song on the radio. You know,
that's amazing.
So that's the odds right there. And so it's really difficult. Right. And you get to that point, well, then it's really difficult to keep the momentum going, you know.
Right.
And we did, even though there's nothing made that kept up quite as well as Turn Up the Radio did, because that's still going. But you know, it's we have other songs out there, like My Girlfriend's Boyfriend Isn't Me. We have She Never Looked That Good, Send Her to Me. We have Blondes and Black Cars. I get my royalty checks and I can see the breakdown, you know, and internationally, a lot
19
of these
nonstop.
19 nonstop. The list goes on and on. But most people know it's just for that one song. But no, there was a lot of good material on those 3 RCA albums, and I'm very proud of it. Very proud.
That's beautiful as an artist, that you're still getting paid for work that you did years ago. And that's the one thing that I didn't like about being a tattoo artist is everything I've done, they pay for and they're gone. Some of them are actually gone, you know? So, yeah. When young people come to me and ask me about being a tattoo artist, I tell them, go learn how to be a painter. Learn how to be like an Andrew Wyatt or somebody that can sell a 10-minute sketch for $40,000. It's a different level of an artist, and you can create paintings that you can sell copies of as well as the original. So I look at things a lot differently now as an artist. I think that's beautiful that you get residual payment from work that you did years ago.
It takes a different kind of person. It takes a different kind of person to be the artist, right? It's not just your regular, you know what I'm saying? Like when it comes to tattooing, when it comes to moonshining, when it comes down to like, you know, what every one of us do, it takes a different kind of person. And each one of us has.
It definitely does. You got to have somebody that's creative, you know, and know their art and know.
Yes. You got to know your craft,
really.
Man.
Know which art you're best at. Like, Steve, did you ever do any other artwork, like drawing or painting or acting,
you know,
or anything like that?
When I was very young, I was into really into architecture. So I used to draw buildings all the time, and I learned how to measure everything out and create rooms and create the interior and exterior. So I used to do all these drawings all the time when I did go to school. That's what I do. I wouldn't do anything that they were teaching. It was something else. You know,
right.
But yeah, I was into that. I haven't really ventured off of, you know, the whole guitar path, you know, since probably I was 15. Because it's kept me so occupied, and I found that, you know, with teaching and touring and writing and recording and everything, you really don't have much time to do anything else. I mean,
right, you're invested in music, you know. So
hey, Steve, something in your book there. And I think it'd be interesting to all the people in the audience. You know, a lot of times people think people that became famous in a band or whatever was born with a silver spoon in the mouth. Can you tell them about the plastic spoon you was born with? And, you know, kind of lead them up to that friend's house where you was staying in the yard when you was 15 years old in the yard next door. Tell them that whole thing.
Well, what happened was, you know, of course, my dad found out that I wasn't going to school, and I hadn't been to school for quite some time. And so he said, you know, you're not going to live here if you're not going to school. And I said, well, that's fine, you know. And I said, can I borrow that old tent that's in the garage, you know, that we used to go camping in? And he said, you can have that old thing, you know. So I took that and I pitched it up, cleared up, in a lot next to a friend of mine's house, and him and his mom lived there, and they said, yeah, of course you can pitch the tent. So I went out and cleared out a bunch of sticker bushes, and I leveled out the ground and put the tent up there. This was in the south part of Seattle, and 1970. And so I was 15 years old, and I lived in that tent for a year, and I had an extension cord running out from their house. And that would give me the heat. I had a little portable heater in there, and my amplifier, and my guitar, and a lamp, and I was pretty much good to go. You know what I mean? I had a cot with a sleeping bag on it, and that's where I lived for a year. You know, and that winter, you know, it actually got so cold, and there was a lot of snow that winter, and so I had to set my alarm clock every couple of hours to get out and shove the snow off, otherwise the tent would start caving in, you know. But at least it was warm inside, warm and dry inside, you know.
Right.
And it was infested with spiders. The spiders seemed to really like the warmth that was inside my tent. So I'd be waking up in the middle of the night, and there would be this big, you know, yeah. I have arachnophobia.
So they could probably come to you and be like, do the study of like how many spiders you swallow in your sleep in the middle of the night or something.
Yeah, right.
Your tent day out, found each one.
I was always catching them every time I went back to the tent. There was always more in there, you know. And right. These were these brown recluses, so they're dangerous.
They're bad.
You know,
they're bad.
So I don't like to kill anything, but I loved killing these things. Put it that way.
Yeah, you got to kill them.
Listen, I learned real early in life the only good spider is a dead one, and the same with the snake. Right. Bro, listen, yep. I see either one. I'm shooting them with a flamethrower, bazooka, whatever is handy. I'm blowing everything up around it so they don't ever come back. I don't want them here. There's not enough ortho spray to spray around my house to get rid of the snakes and spiders.
Oh, there you go.
No. Yo, Brown Recluse would be a good name for a band or a song.
Right?
What, a brown recluse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those things are bad news, man. And then you know the worst thing is
they're evil.
It's not good.
They're very poisonous.
Yeah. So
and it's not like they actually prey upon you. They come at you. They don't just leave you alone. They see you in there, and it's like it's their territory. No, it's not. But I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to kill you.
I have no problem with killing spiders. Anything that's poisonous, I kill them.
Hell yeah.
No, not me, man. You know. So I was listening to some of the music again just to kind of catch up on it and stuff like that. But you know, one of my favorite movies back in the 80s was Freddy Krueger, man, like Nightmare on Elm Street. That was like one of my favorite movies. And when I heard When I'm Gone, I almost was like, man, this should have been on Nightmare on Elm Street. Like what I wrote, like it was just like, yeah, dude. Like, so that's a good one for me, man. That one hits it because it had that like 80s kind of like, you know, it brings a little nostalgia back.
Yeah. Well, that one we recorded When I'm Gone in Angela and Sanctuary. All these songs are on the album Missing Pieces, which is a great album, but they were all demos that at the time, at the end of the 80s, when the record deal was over with RCA, we did our 3 albums, and then that deal was over. We were looking at signing a new deal with Epic. But then both the band and Epic, the grunge thing was coming on so heavy at that time. We thought, you know, is it really worth it? You know, because they can't really put any money into promoting anything from the 80s because it's just not selling. The whole grunge thing completely came in and completely wiped it out. And it was just overnight. It was just like that. And so we decided, well, there's no reason to sign because we're going to sign a 3-album deal with them. So years later, we just took those demos that we did and put them out on the album Missing Pieces. But they're still there. You know, it's just they're kind of rough because it was just demos. But still, it's good songs on there.
Dude, man, I mean,
if we went out into Steve Lynch's car right now and put the radio on, what would we hear? What band
you'd hear? You would probably hear the group Porcupine Tree.
Gotta write it down.
Nobody knows who that
I
is.
ain't never heard that shit.
I listen to these obscure, bands, and not too many people know who they are. Massive Attack, Porcupine Tree, Conjure One. They're experimental bands. I always liked the stuff that Pink Floyd was doing with Syd Barrett, and then later on when David Gilmour took over and they did, Dark Side of the Moon and all that.
That all came from
I was totally into that experimental stuff,
Like real atmospheric. That's like atmospheric music.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always loved
Is
that.
that
I always
because
loved Genesis?
Is that because you
And
put
so
the
I like listening to these bands that are
LSD
experimental like that.
Is it because you put the LSD in your drink? Then ever since then, bro, it's been fucking blah.
Dude, that's probably exactly what it was.
Ever since then, it was Pink Floyd, baby.
Yeah, that's right, all the way. Put on the headphones,
awesome.
Take me out.
Stellar communication.
Yeah.
Hey, if that lady would have known what she really was doing for you, you know what?
Yeah, right.
Now, I got a question for both you guys. You guys got any tattoos?
No, I haven't, because every time I think about it, I think about it again. I think, no, I don't want that as a tattoo, because I change my mind constantly. You know what I mean? So
Steve, you're never too old, buddy. I'll tell you that. I had a client one time. He was actually in his 60s, and he was actually blinded in the Korean War. And
oh wow,
he couldn't. I would say he was blind. He couldn't see. And I did some tattoos on him. He got such good reactions from his tattoos. He would fly up from Florida every year and get tattooed. And he couldn't see one of them, but he was a cool client, man. So you're never too old.
That is trust.
Did you put Daffy Duck and Mickey Mouse on his arm or something?
You know what?
Because he wouldn't have known.
You know what? That old man loved women. So like, I think I put an owl on him. I did some pretty realistic tattoos on him. And when he went home on the plane, the stewardess just fell in love with him and his new tattoo. So she was with him the whole flight. Well, after that, he was just dying to come up and get tattooed every year. That old man loved women. Even in his 80s and 90s, he still was talking about his girlfriend and talking about these other women didn't want to give him none. And it was hilarious. I was like, damn, Jim.
That's great. Yeah.
That is hilarious. Old blind man. These old women didn't want to give me none.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll give you a little story.
He didn't care what they looked like because he couldn't see them anyway. So,
Go ahead, Dan.
Go ahead, Dan.
I'll tell you about my tattoos. So for probably 40 years, I contemplated getting a tattoo. And when I maybe not 40 years, probably 35 years. We went out to Vegas about 4 or 5 years ago. My wife and daughter's getting one, and they're getting a little matching, like, I don't know, some kind of symbol or something, mother-daughters kind of thing. And for years, I told her, I said, if I ever see anything I actually like that I know I'm going to like forever, then I'll put that on there. I said, otherwise, I'm not just picking something out of a book that looks cool today and putting it on my arm. I said, fuck that. I ain't doing that. Or wherever.
Yeah, it's gotta have meaning behind it.
So we get out to Las Vegas, and they're doing their little tattoo, and he's like, well, look up here on the wall, see what you found. The first 2 things on their list was Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man. And I've been an 80s arcade person since I was a kid. So on my arm right here, I got Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man, and then I came back and had the ghost added to it, had me and my wife's name added to it. Started doing tattoos everywhere else, and I got all kinds of 80s arcade games on me. So
that's a good idea. That's awesome. A great idea.
See, you waited 34 years. I woke up on my 15th birthday at 6:30 in the morning to my father going, "Get up." I'm like, "Why?" He said, "Get in a fucking chair." I said, "What?" He said, "You're getting your fucking tattoo today." I was 15. Listen, I watched my dad tattoo from every chance I could. I was next to him. I was in it. I was there. Get in the chair. I was so excited, right? And it's funny because the flash that I picked out was from Rich, my co-host here. He had given to my dad and stuff. And I remember as soon as he hit me with that fucking needle, I'm sitting there going, why in the fuck am I doing this? Why I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, oh God. Even to this day, when Rich tattoos me, even when he tattoos me, the first thing I'm like, dude, that's why my back ain't done yet. Like, it's there, but it ain't done yet. Like, that shit hurts, bro. And the older I get, the more it hurts.
Well, now that I'm older, I'm thinking about getting a tattoo on my arm with just my name and address on it. So if anybody finds me wandering around in my delirium, they'll know who I am and where to take me.
Listen, my buddy has one that says, if found dead, please return to Harmony, PA. And then listen, my wife's cousin has one that says cut here because he's in the military. Cut here if found, and that dotted line across his throat. Dude. I'm like, you're fucking nuts.
Wow.
Yeah, he's nuts. He's a Marine. God bless him, man. Thank you.
So, Steve, do you got any other like shows coming up soon, like this summer? Or are you doing any touring at all?
Not any touring right now as far as the band. I'm looking at that. That would be something that I'd consider doing next year. But the main thing I want to do right now is promote my book and do that because I think it's a fun read for everybody. People
Absolutely.
love the stories.
I'm going to be reading it for sure.
Hey,
Steve is going to be at Rock the Block selling these books and autographing them, whatever. So you can come to Rock the Block if you're in that part of the state. Come grab you up one of these books. He'll be there personally sign it on site for you. And we should have plenty. But also, if somebody is coming or whatever and they want to get that signed, feel free to grab one of your own. We're going to have X number of books there. But, if you can get one in advance. I told Jason just the other day, I was like, dude, get on there and buy the book. So he got the book. He had about the same amount of time I did the first time we interviewed you about the book, about 2 days. To look through it and find some good questions and whatnot. So
and I'll be glad to sign them for them, and I'll be glad to take a picture with them, give them a guitar pick or whatever, so make it fun for them.
Hell yeah, man, that's awesome. So I got a question about the tapping method, man. So like when you come out with that the 8-finger tapping, I mean, and that's what I'm reading in here, like when did you know that was a game changer? Because like I'm sure you had already heard like Van Halen tapping, right? I mean, obviously touring.
Well, I didn't. I started messing around with it in probably 74, 75 when I saw Harvey Mandel from John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. I saw him doing a little bit of that, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. So I started experimenting with it back then. And then there was a guy in Seattle named Steve Buffington who played around with it too. So he showed me a couple of ideas as well. And so I'd been doing it since that time. But when I went to the Guitar Institute, I met this guy, Emmett Chapman, who invented the instrument, the stick that you play. And he created this instrument because he wanted to play the bass with his left hand, and on another set of strings play the chord inversions and the triads and the melody lines and solos, and just kind of like on a piano, but on strings instead, with your fingers directly on the strings. And so when he did this clinic at the Guitar Institute back in 1978, right when I was starting to go there, I just completely changed my whole vision of the guitar neck itself. And so I started writing down all that I was learning there, like all the different scales and arpeggios and triads and chord inversions and all of this. And I started writing it out two-handed. I hand wrote out guitar necks so that the circles were my right hand and the squares were my left hand. And so then I could tell which hand was doing what. And, by the time I graduated from the school in March of 79, I had basically written like 4 books with the material, and I heard Van Halen in there, but it wasn't until I had already written a book, so he wasn't Eddie wasn't an influence on me at all. In fact, I'm a little bit older.
You probably influenced him.
So. What's that?
You probably influenced him, man.
No, he hadn't heard of me because I was just going to the Guitar Institute at that point. So anyway,
hey Steve,
Yeah.
Steve, there's something you got. There's a story you got to tell that's in the book, and to me, it's probably the best little short story there is. But you need to tell everybody about the guitar pick, how you got it, and where it ended up at.
Yeah. Okay. Well, me and my friend went to see Jeff Beck when he was playing with Beck, Bogart, and Appleseed. I don't remember exactly what year that was, but it was in the early 70s. It might have been 71, 72. But anyway, Jeff had a lot of trouble with his equipment that night. It was at the Paramount Theater in Seattle. It was pouring down rain and everything outside, and so he had a lot of problems with it. He even took his guitar off and threw it across the stage and walked off, and he didn't come back on for a long time, but he did. And so I wanted to get a guitar pick from him, so I waited around out in the pouring down rain. I was soaking wet, and I waited till he came out, and I could see that he was kind of in an argument with his business manager, and so I didn't want to bother him. My friend kept on saying, no, we waited all this time, go get a guitar pick from him. So when he started to walk out to his limo, I ran up and I said, hey, Chuck, I'm sorry to bother you. I know it's really an opportune time, but do you have a guitar pick I could have, and he just kind of gave me this look like, piss off, little kid, and so, and then he opened up the back door of the limo and he said, get in. And so I got in.
Whoa!
And he started fooling around through his Pan Am flight bag, and he pulled out a Herco heavy pick, and he said, "You've been sitting out there waiting for me to give you a pick, and look at you, you're shivering, you're shaking, you're so cold, and you're soaking wet." He says, with that kind of determination, he says, "You're probably going to go far, mate." And so he gave me that pick, and I was just like on cloud 10. It was just amazing.
Oh, wow.
I got a guitar pick from Jeff Beck. And so I used that pick for every day. Every time I play guitar, it was that pick. And so I wore it down to just a little tiny nub. But I used to carry it. Yeah, I used to carry it in my hip pocket on my jeans just as a good luck charm because it was from Jeff Beck.
Wow.
And so then, fast forward about 15 years, it was like 1985, 86, something like that. It was at the NAMM show in Anaheim, California, the National Association of Music Merchants, where all these music companies get together and all that. And so he was backstage at that because he was going to perform, but he couldn't because he had broken his thumb and it was in a big steel sling. It was probably something to do with, he always worked on his, 30s Ford coupes. He did everything by hand, rebuilding them and everything. So he probably did something to it by that. But anyway, Roger Fisher, the guitar player from Heart, was back there, and he had designed this guitar with all these LED lights on it and everything. And I was standing right there. And so he handed it to Jeff, and Jeff said, "Well, I can't play it. Look at my thumb," And so Jeff handed it to me, just not even know who I was. And so I started doing all this two-handed tapping stuff. And he went, how did you come up with all that, man? And so I explained to him, the whole story about how I got into it and everything. And I said, "Jeff, I have something I want to give you." I reached into my hip pocket and I pulled out that little nub of a pick. And I said, "You gave this to me in Seattle 15 years ago, when I was a soaking wet little kid waiting outside the Paramount Theater to get a pick from you." And he said, "You're that kid. I remember you because you were shivering and you were just waiting out there and your determination and everything."
What's up, Benny?
And he said, "Is that the pick?" And I said, "Yes, and I'd like you to have it back." And he says, "There's nothing left of it, basically, but." He said, "Wow, that's and here you are, and all these years later."
Was he blown away?
That's full circle.
Completely. I'm telling you, there out of everybody in that little backstage area, nobody had a dry eye at that point. Everybody thought it was the coolest thing ever.
I am
that's
amazing. He gave me a big hug, and he said, "Good luck to you, mate, man. You're really doing well, and you're really going to continue to do so."
Wow, man.
So he even called it just because of your perseverance of waiting through the bullshit.
Yeah.
Just to get it.
You gave him affirmation of the energies of the world. You gave him affirmation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything.
Absolutely, yeah. It was
when you
cool.
showed up with that pick, that's full affirmation. Unreal.
Yeah. Yeah,
That was
what
awesome.
goes around comes around.
That is amazing. I had
Yeah,
a story somewhat like that with Jason's father. I've already told it too many times on here, but I drew a picture. His dad taught me how to tattoo, and he asked me to do a drawing, and I went home and I was under the gun. What am I going to draw? I'd never drawn a tattoo before. So I pulled a shirt out and I sketched off this shirt and took it down there. Well, the next night, his dad was doing that same design, tattooing it on a guy. And I hadn't,
Wow.
he said, "What did you draw for me?" I showed him. He's like, "Did you know I was doing this?" I was like, "No." So he says, "I have to teach you how to tattoo now." So it's very similar.
Wow.
It's wild when that stuff happens.
Yeah, what are the odds of that happening? I mean, it's like, again, it's like 1,000,000 to 1. I mean, it's like 1,000,000,000
that's
to
the
1.
energies, man, that he talks about.
Yeah,
Like
right.
that, like the way it's funny, dude, because like my dad was yelling at my mom. He's like, "You told him. You fucking tell him what I was doing." And she's like, "No, I didn't say anything." He's like, "You fucking told him, didn't you?" She's like, "No, I promise you, I didn't say nothing."
It's hard for some people to grasp that things just happen like that, you know?
When the energies of the world align like that, it's amazing. It really does. It sets off something in your whole brain, your soul, everything.
See, for me, that's almost like what happened to me. Okay, so like I only started making moonshine because of the TV show, purely. So the guys that are on that show, they're gods to me because that's all I've ever known. That's really the reason how I learned. So for my first time meeting these people, there was no like, "Hey, I'm Jason. Let's introduce you." No, bro. It's you're on the thing, and now you're making shine, and now I'm about to give what I consider idols. No, there's no hello, hi. It's here you go, test that, and then we'll see what happens afterwards. Like, you know what I mean? That's that holy full circle moment, man. You're like, holy shit, dude! I really just did that. They're the only reason why I'm making
there you go.
You know what I mean? Like,
and that's how it must have felt, Steve, when you were playing guitar in front of Jeff Beck. That must have been like within itself to be playing guitar in front of him.
He didn't even know.
Man. Oh yeah. I mean, you never imagine these things are ever going to happen in your life, you know. I mean, not 15 years prior to that, I would never have imagined that I'd be sitting there playing a guitar in front of him, you know.
Right.
It happened, though.
Back in 1984, I knew for sure that you was going to be at the Dan Cave in 2023. I knew it. I knew it.
There you go.
I just felt it.
That's funny. Yeah.
He was taking you one way or another, Steve.
You know, a lot of stars had to align, and there was some rough stuff that came about from that we even met each other. And, you know, we really haven't known each other that long, 3 years or so. But one of the members of Autograph
that he there.
When we played at Rock the you played at Rock the Block in
2018, I think is when we played there.
It was when Randy was there. It was 2021 because it was immediately following COVID. And then of course the following year he passed away. So over the years, anytime a band had a member pass away that had been at Rock the Block, or even people that just help with Rock the Block. So it started with Big John. Big John that's with Brett Michaels and Rock of Love, that Big John. Right. So that Big John, I kind of knew him. And John's mom had died right before he was coming up to help us with Rock the Block that year in Wilmington. So I thought, it'd be nice. We all talked about it and said, let's get him a plaque. So we got him a plaque, a nice commemorative plaque for his mom and whatever. And, to him, it was one of the greatest things, one of the greatest feelings, just that, somebody cared enough to give him a plaque. Well, in 2020, that was in 2019. So in 2020, of course, we didn't have Rock the Block, but Frankie Benally from Choir Riot was supposed to play there in 2020. Well, he died in August of 2020 and didn't get to play there. But I went ahead and presented the band with a plaque the following year in Frankie Benally's memory, and we gave that to the band. So then Randy played there in 2021. Of course, he passes away, and I'm like, I need to get this to the band somehow, but they ain't going to be here. So I called somebody. I said, hey, somebody get me in touch with Regina. Because in 2021, me and Regina worked through a couple of friends, worked it out to where the band would let another friend of mine, Charlie Bonnet, get up there and propose to his wife on stage. So they did that. So me and Regina had met. So I called her the following year. I was like, hey, we want to present you with a plaque, just a memory. I said, if you can get up here, or if maybe somebody can come accept it for you. She says, I will be on a plane no matter what. And this was like a couple weeks before the event. So Regina came up here. I met her. She's like, you got to meet Steve. So from there, it went kind of crazy, and we've done a whole lot of stuff in a short amount of time, to include a couple different times at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that we've been there. And Steve got some memorabilia from Autograph put in there, and it's been a really good relationship. They come here and hang out at the Dan Cave a little bit, and we have a great time. Just kind of, you know, a small intimate setting with friends. So
yeah, man.
Hey, thanks for bringing us to the Dan Cave, man. I feel
absolutely.
Absolutely.
You guys are welcome to come out.
I'm a little closer than Rich is. Rich is all the way out in Philly. I'm in Pittsburgh, so we're holding PA down. So
right, the Dan Cave suffered a casualty last night. We need to say a prayer for it. I told Steve I sent a picture last night, but I came home last night. Wow. I came home last night, and I just bought this from Lowe's. What I thought was a sturdy, you know, hard Rubbermaid type shelf that was 4 tiers tall. Well, the second level down, the pylon or tubes that hold it together, that it just basically wrinkled, and my 2 top shelves fell. So I lost like multiple bottles of Buffalo Trace, like all my bourbon crashed to the floor. And but here's what's weird, and I think God was kind of on my side. He may not like bourbon, but he probably had a little sympathy for me, because all the shit that broke, other than a couple of bottles, was all the low end, cheaper bourbons and whatever. Every bit of my expensive shit survived it. My Eagle Rare survived. Some like the Old Forester 117, it survived. Some of these bottles, it was 150, 200 bucks. All of them came out unscathed somehow. But my Buffalo Trace itself took a hit. I lost like 4 or 5 bottles of that.
Yeah, and no more plastic shelving. No more plastic shelving.
Yeah, no shit. I ordered wire shelving yesterday.
You got to write a new AI song called "Bourbon on the Floor."
You know, I've done a lot of AI songs. Jason, I got to send you and you and is it Rich? Is that what it is? Yeah. It says little Tarzan on it. Rich. Okay.
Yeah.
You and Rich, I'm going to send you guys some of my AI songs that I did. There's some really good heavy metal shit. I did one for Steve for his birthday when he was turning 70. I've done one for the Man Cave here. Awesome. I've done them for Rock the Block. I've done stories about shit in my life. But it's like I write all the lyrics, and then I just plug it in there and say, hey, I want a country song that says this, or I want a metal song. And this kind of a feeling. You can put depressed, you can put cheerful, but there's been some amazing songs come out of that AI stuff that's just crazy. I usually send it to Steve and them so they can check it out. There's been some really good stuff come out of there.
Yeah,
there's
some really good stuff. Absolutely.
The guy in the comments, Kim Spencer, he's been sending me some good stuff here lately. We're going to start putting it on the podcast here soon. Definitely for that.
Dan, bring it on, Dan. We'll do it. Bring us a song, Dan. Bring us a song.
I will send it. I'll send some stuff to Jason immediately after this is over. I got this moonshine song that's pretty good. It's called Homewrecker. And basically it sounds like it's a lady all the way through every verse to the last verse. It sounds like it's a woman who's a homewrecker, and it ends up being a copper still was the homewrecker.
Oh, talk bad about that copper steel, sir. Hey, listen, I mean, you know,
record with a little pecker.
Yep.
So
hey, you're gonna have to replace some of some of Dan's lost bourbon with some moonshine.
Right.
Yeah, that ain't a problem. Listen, I definitely want to get some moonshine in your hands. I really
would love that.
I can definitely get it to you if you're cool with it being on the DL moonshine, like the stuff I make.
Oh yeah.
I'm getting myself a book too for sure. I'm
so
definitely getting myself
that ain't
a
no
book.
problem. But if it's gonna be like any of the anything with like orange or
Hey.
anything that has the cream, it ain't gonna be.
Send him some of your regular shine, but send him that cream because I can tell you this: his fiance Suzanne, she's gonna love the fucking creams because when they came here to the man cave last year, I had them try about 20 of them.
So
every cream type stuff you can imagine, I had them try last year, and I know her and Regina really loved it. And Regina doesn't even really like milk, but
okay, I definitely can do that. We just I just come out, so I have a really killer strawberries and cream. That one is phenomenal. I have key lime pie, so that's a cream, dude.
That's a Florida thing, Steve.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I use key lime juice, Nelly and Frank's key lime juice or something like that in it. And I even go as far as to soak the graham crackers in the moonshine so it infuses that flavor. So, bro, you're getting it. Not only are you getting just that lemon or the lime, I'm sorry, but all the way down to the crust, man, because that's really where I want to blow your mind. So, like in my orange
guys, just to let you know, my phone might die. It seems like the charger's not working correctly. But let's go until it dies, I guess.
Hey,
so,
I mean, we got our hour in.
Give you a heads up that I didn't just disappear on you.
So, well, then let's put out there, like, where can everybody reach you at, man? Like, if they want to, where can they buy the book? That's the first question, you know.
Oh, okay. Well, the book is available on Amazon. Of course, you just type in the title Confessions of a Rock Guitarist, or you type in my name and it comes right up, you know. And so then there's also Barnes and Noble and Book Club. It's pretty much available everywhere, and it'll be in bookstores soon, but the main thing is they do online selling first and then it goes out to the bookstore. So yeah, it's pretty much wherever you want to order it, you know. Amazon's been selling very good. It was number one.
A day late. And I ordered it. It was supposed to come, and I'm like, I got my other package that I ordered with it, but it was a day late. So I was like, man, I got.
Yeah, well, they had to print up some new ones because the first batch sold out so fast. They had to put up some new ones. So
good for you.
They got way late for a few days. Yeah,
and just let me tell you this, because I heard Dan say something about a 70th birthday. My dude, you look freaking phenomenal for 70.
Thank you,
bro. No,
I think it's all those years of immaturity finally paid off, right?
But that's what I was gonna say.
No, I turned January 18th.
On the road 70. And shit like that, bro. It didn't even look like it. Bro, listen, 70, dude. You look
this looks mature, but trust me, this ain't.
Hey, 70 seems old until you're 57 like I am, and it's like, dude, that's right around the corner.
That's how old I am, Dan. I'm 57, so
yeah,
that's how old I am. Graduated 46. In 86.
Same here, class of 86.
Yeah, same here. Yup.
Well, let me tell you, the 70s are great. So far, it's just it's a whole different. You have a whole different outlook on your whole life and everything, and that's why I think it was so important that I released this right after I turned 70, is because now I'm kind of slowing down a little bit, and I'm able to finally absorb everything that I've done in my life, and I've written that all down in the book, you know, and so you look back on that and you go, wow, what a wild ride it's been. But you know what? It's been worth every minute, you know. It's just incredible. And so now I look at the future as like it's whatever I want to do, you know. I'm in a position now where I'm retired, but you know, so financially I'm okay. So I can just do whatever I want now. I don't have to do things. It's just I want to do things.
So what does Steve Lynch want to do in his retired time?
I'd like to write and compose different songs and record them, just not for radio play, not reflecting back on the 80s, not reflecting back on anything.
Just music.
Just whatever I hear. And I don't have to think about getting radio play because I could care less about that, you know, and that's very difficult to do anyway, but that's not what interests me. I've always been of the sort that I've always looked at myself as a musician, not a rock star. I always have just looked at it like, this is all for the music. It's because I love music so much, and I love playing guitar so much. It's never been about, being popular and all that. It's been wonderful that has happened, and that has been a part of my whole story, but that wasn't the reasoning behind me getting into music, and it's still not, and so I just love the whole creative process, and to just explore new avenues, and that's what I'm going to do.
Do you still get excited when you you pick up the guitar and you just say you're just because I know sometimes you can get in a zone, right? And you pick up that guitar, bro, and you just lay something down and you're like, fuck, I should have recorded that.
That's just, it's the best feeling. In fact, I was telling my wife to be Suzanne about that feeling when you first record something new. There's no other feeling like it, because it's something that you just came up with all on your own, and you created this. And when you play it back, and when you record it and you play it back, and you go, that didn't come from anywhere. That just came from within, or maybe it came from without. Maybe it came from everywhere.
Like you're a receiver.
But it's right, exactly. You're right. You're the antenna. You're the satellite, basically. And,
yeah, man.
So
it's so awesome.
So it's just that feeling of creating something on your own like that. That it's really incredible. There's nothing like it, because. It's one thing to accomplish different feats in your life, but then to create something that is completely on your own, that's a really, really great feeling.
So making a connection with something that isn't visible. You're making connection with something that you just can't see, but it comes through.
Exactly.
I completely understand that.
Well, guys, I'm gonna tell you some stuff about Steve Lynch that you need to know. So I've met a lot of rock people over the years. I've been doing booking and having my own festivals and concerts and shit since 1992. I think was the first year I did it. And I befriended in 1995. Jackson Spires, the drummer for Blackfoot, befriended me. And he's like, hey, you know what you ought to do? He says, you ought to start booking bands. I was like, I don't know nothing about booking bands. And he's like, I'll tell you what. He says, if you start booking bands, he says, I'll let you book our band, which at the time was Southern Rock All-Stars, which was people from Blackfoot, Molly Hatchet, Leonard Skinner. It was kind of an all-star band. He says, we'll be your first client. I was like, okay. So over the next several months, we talked on the phone all the time. A very genuine person. Then along came Dave Lubeck from Molly Hatchet. Same thing. Dave was very genuine. Every time they'd come around here, we went to the local bar, sat there, had drinks, talked to people, had a great time. Well, that's the same genuine person that this Mr. Steve Lynch is. So if anybody has a chance to come out and meet him and talk to him, there's a lot of famous people out there who've had different things, that they've been famous for. A lot of them sometimes just kind of they aren't genuine, what I would call genuine. But I've met a lot of genuine people, and Steve, and I've told him this before, he's one of the more genuine people I've ever met in my life, as far as being somebody that had something at one point where they was famous, but they also have a real genuine side of them that's not famous. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's who Steve is. Steve is that genuine guy that doesn't realize he's famous.
Well, I think he's shown that by coming on our show, and I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
So grateful.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Yeah.
You know what my buddy used to tell me? So since we're gonna, a little bit of the Steeler talk. So when me and my wife, my wife has, we own whatever, dude. We have a lot of seats, bro.
The next time I find a damn Steelers thing on somebody's car, I'm gonna put that puke look as my profile picture.
Bro, why don't you guys just come to a game with me?
I would love to. That'd be cool. I did have some friends that live around Pittsburgh. They live in Sutersville. I went and
shut no, bro. I'm from that.
I went to a Pirates game with them.
I'm from that area, dude. Soonersville. We used to go through Soonersville to go swimming in the woods in the middle of
Do you know the Novacek, Samantha Novacek? She was on American Idol back season 11. That's who's from there. I know them. They're kind of friends of mine. We've been friends for a while. So
see, it's
He's
kind of
got
cool
front row seats, man.
Yeah,
He's got front row seats. So go with him, man. It's
we'll do it.
amazing.
Look, I might even root for the damn Steelers while I'm there, just because.
Listen, I got a T-shirt and a terrible towel that'll fit every one of you. Listen, we're on the 5-yard line. We got, dude, we're right there on the end zone, dude. Like 5-yard front row. We got the second row. We party it up. But I can't thank you enough. And I'm not trying to end this interview yet, but I'm just, putting it out there, man. I can't thank you for coming out here. You know what I mean? It really helps us. It does. And then what about because I really want to get some stuff in your hands, both of your hands. Like I need you to have I just need a list of what flavors you like.
If you could send them to me, that would be great. And then hopefully have all that together by the time we get out to the Dan Cave, and that way me and Regina and Suzanne, my wife to be, and we can all check it out and promote it for you. How's that?
Oh, bro, listen. I'm trying to. So this Friday we're starting concert, stuff around here now. So, and you had mentioned Poison earlier, so we're actually going to see the Bret Michaels band, and we just actually had guitar Pete Evick on, and seen that.
That was good,
dude. That dude. Listen, both of you guys, you could tell now, like just from the interview of both, you could tell you're genuine people, and it's hard when people of that statue have to, because dude, you're used to the fame and all that kind of stuff, for all that time. And then now it's so it takes a little adjusting, but dude, I think both of you guys are amazing people. I think you're amazing guitarists. Absolutely.
Thank you.
He's got the Van Halen influences tattooed on his arms and shit. I'm like, man, so
Hey, Steve, do you know Pete Evick?
I don't believe so.
He's a guitarist. He's been playing with Bret Michaels' band for pretty much since Bret went out on his own.
Talking about,
yeah. So that's who Jason's talking about. Yeah, and he was on a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we had a great interview with him as well. He was a real guy. We had a great interview with him as well.
It's just really cool when I've always appreciated it, when I've met, pretty famous people when I was younger, and they were nice to me. And I always thought, you know what, I'm going to be that way if I ever, make it in this business, and because I want to return that, that same feeling to whoever else might be, excited to meet me. And, but I've always looked at it like I'm just still the same person as I always was. I mean, being popular didn't change me at all. It's just, I was just able to pay the rent.
Right. Well, it's funny because last night I was on a little podcast, and the one dude from Texas, and he told me 2 or 3 times, and he's like, man, Jason, he says, every time you're on our podcast, he's like, dude, I am fucking starstruck over you. And I'm like, really, dude, I can't believe you're on my fucking podcast with us. And I'm just like, all I did was make moonshine on TV once. You know what I mean? That's all I did, But it's the fact that it's crazy, man, because I get the random stuff on Facebook, from the random person, and I don't exclude them. I don't just be like, oh, okay, whatever. Thanks for being the view. Actually, if they're asking me questions about what I do and what they do, and I can help in any way, I got a friend that lives in Africa now that showed me a grape that was this big. You know what I mean? And that's what he's making moonshine out of it. It was a crazy grape, that big. And I got friends in Texas. I got dude, Dan, man, like I'm getting goosebumps, man, because I'm sure it's not on the level you had to deal with, but it's a cool thing when people like look at you as a helper or somebody that, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, he's not that celebrity that, oh no, excuse me.
Well, there are celebrities that will be rude to kids or to do these things, and I've seen it. I've read about it.
Hey,
and I think
it's too.
If Steve was rude to kids or whatever, I'd tell Suzanne and that'd fix that shit right now.
I got rude to anybody.
I got her number too, so I can bypass him and say, "Hey, Suzanne, get a grip on your boy."
Oh,
I would never do that. Of course, I think
you better grab them grapes.
I think it's so endearing when you have the younger generations that appreciate, what you've done as well. And so it's especially when people meet you and they look up to you and they're really excited to meet you. I can't imagine being rude to them, no matter what age they are, because that really hurts their feelings, because it's much more so than meeting anybody else for them, because it's like somebody they really look up to. And then if you're rude to them, that destroys them. That's really
that's
really
sad
hurtful for them.
Well, I'm gonna tell you. Let me tell you a story real quick, since I've done a lot of booking for bands and stuff. And when I was younger, and I'm not gonna mention who this band is because I don't want to throw no shade on them, but I booked this band at a place in Middletown, Ohio. Always one of my favorite bands from the late '70s, early '80s. They had a lot of radio hits that did really, really well for heavy metal type music. So I booked this band at this place. I had never seen them before, so I went there, had backstage passes and whatever. I just went up to the lead singer. I was like, "Hey, I'm Dan with One Dog Entertainment, and I just want, I booked you guys here. Hope everything's going like it's supposed to and whatever." And he's like, "So?" And I felt that fucking tall. That fucking tall. He was like, "So?" I was like,
that's bad.
Talk about kicking somebody right square in the nuts. I was like, damn.
Right?
But there's people like that in the industry, and then there's people like Steve, and doing Rock the Block. I ran across all of both. The first year we had it, we had Firehouse and Great White. Jack Russell, one of the greatest people you ever meet. CJ Snare, one of the greatest people you ever meet. The next year we had Steel Heart. Anybody that knows the singer from Steel Heart, he can be nice or he can be not nice. But on that day he was nice, and I don't have anything to say about Millie. He was great. Everybody that we've had at Rock the Block has been good, decent people to work with. And maybe it's because they've gotten a little older and they've gotten past maybe some of that egotistical stuff. I think that's probably got a lot to do with it. But 99% of the people I've met, I've had more trouble with tour managers than anything. And I ain't throwing no shade on tour managers either, because I know a lot of them, and most of them are really good people. But every once in a while, you'll get a tour manager who's a stickler and is like, "This how's going to be your else." And it's like,
you know what it is too? It's like, or these people have kids, like daughters.
I'll be like, "Dude, they don't sell that brand of licorice in this half of the United States. I can't fucking get it."
It's really that bad? Is it really that like drama? Like,
yes, there's been a couple who their hospitality list or their writer of stuff that they wanted in the green room prior to the show and after the show. It's like, man, they don't even sell that in this part of the United States. I can't order it.
What is the craziest thing that you've ever asked for to be in the green room, Steve?
Oh God, ours was so simple. It was like, God, it was like a six pack of Corona, a bottle of red wine, a bottle of white wine, some crackers and cheese, assorted cheeses, and some vegetables, some dip, and that was it.
That was it. So like
that one time that I did say I wanted a private pool, and they couldn't supply that for me, and I was really pissed. Just kidding.
Damn it.
Fuck this place.
No,
We're
we
out of
didn't
here.
ask for much, because we really didn't need much. I mean,
Hey,
mainly it was
what's up,
just for
Christy?
after the show. None of us ate before we went on stage, so it was very.
I'll
very
tell you who
simple.
I met that was really nice. Is I met Tom Araya one time, and he was a stand-up guy from Slayer. Tom Araya was great. I met him. I could have hanged out with him for a long time.
So what
I
about
thought
like
he was a really nice guy.
have you ever heard of Steel Panther instead of Steel
Oh
Heart?
yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
Well,
Fucking
let me tell you something. Regina, that was married to Randy from Autograph. She wears some of the craziest clothing in the world, like rock clothing, and it's really
God
cool.
bless her.
If you like
God
rock
bless her.
clothing, check out the shit that Regina wears. But she has this chick named Sherry Lou make it, and Sherry Lou does all of the stuff for Steel Panther.
yeah.
So I'm gonna
Yeah.
try and make that become full circle to Rock the Block one of these days. I'm gonna have to work through Regina and through Sherry Lou and get to Michael
Bro.
Starr there and get them here at Rock
Yeah.
the Block eventually.
Listen, if you get Steel Panther at Rock the Block, I ain't going to Maggie Valley, bro. I'm bringing all the moonshine to fucking Ohio, and we're gonna blow the block up, dog.
I want a
No
pair
doubt.
of Steel Panther pants, man. I want a pair.
Listen, those dudes are freaking hilarious. Like
They
I
are.
saw them. See, this is why I love music so much, man. Because like I don't care what they're singing. That like the lyrics. I mean, when I go, I can get like if you were to play the guitar in front of me and I would see you live, you would be like, "What the fuck is wrong with this dude?" Because I would be in such a trance that I get lost in like what you're doing, and like
Yeah.
I'm watching you and I'm hearing you only. Like I'm focusing on you or the drums because I love drums. Like I'm like, oh, like so everything else is a blur because I'm so in like vested in what I'm listening to. Like because I love
Yeah.
all the aspects of music. I love. Dude, I used to ask for a guitar when I was a little kid. I couldn't even call it a guitar. I called it a lula, my mom would say. She's like, you always wanted a lula. Like, I'd be running around. They never got, I had to buy my own at 16, but my ADHD wouldn't let me learn. Like, and that's the truth. Like, it's so hard for me. But listen, I would sell my soul 16 times over to the devil and his wife and his firstborn to put that fucking guitar in my hand and play it like him, dude. You know what I mean, dude? You're just amazing, man. Like, and
Yeah,
for you, it's easy. You know what I mean? You get out there and you slay it. So, like, when somebody watches that and they see how easy it is, that really pushes them to try hard. So, like, I have friends that tell me, like, dude, you're fucking amazing when you make this moonshine. And I'm like, dude, it's easy.
Yeah.
It's what I do, but
Yeah.
we love our craft.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
When you're that good at it, it's
guitar playing is not easy, and I don't lie to anybody about that.
It's not.
It's very difficult,
It is for sure. I've tried and failed.
Well, when you're young and you're creating, so you're 15, 16, 17, you're full of piss and vinegar, like you've got all this drive and energy and and you're driving. And then I think, like you said, you get there and you make it. But now all of a sudden you got to keep going and you've got to find that next level of energy, that next level of creation. And that's when it becomes difficult. I feel like that first original drive when you're young is kind of a more natural thing, But when you get there and now you've got to evolve, that's when it becomes difficult as an artist.
That's the thing is, most people reach that plateau and then they don't go on past that, So you need different inspiration, and that's why, like even as early on when I was going to the Guitar Institute, I got tired of listening to guitar players. The last guitar player that I really listened to was Alan Holsworth, who many people don't know about because he's more of the jazz fusion genre. And but I started listening to like Charlie Parker on saxophone and Jean-Luc Ponty on violin, and trying to figure out what they were doing on guitar, though, and it brought me into a whole different realm, but it really challenged me and it opened up my whole world to all these different options and the way people see music on a different instrument, and trying to incorporate that into guitar, So
your mind is so developed at that point, your mind has become so developed that you don't even really even realize it, like, because you've come so far and now you're even reaching in further. It's an amazing thing to develop as an artist that way.
Yeah, it really is. And it's hard to keep inspired, but you just find these different things that clicks it off or clicks it on, actually, and brings that creativity back. So it's there.
You
just have to look
hit that riff that melts somebody's face, and you're like, I still got it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I like the way you put that, Heath, and just melts her face.
That's it, bro. That's hey, listen, I'm sure you've melted a lot of faces, and like, hey, you've even did your own by the Crazy Witch.
Yeah, right.
Well, the Crazy Demon Witch.
Crazy Demon
This has
Witch.
been a
Exactly.
This has been a wonderful
By the way,
show.
to set the record straight, I never did go roller skating with her at our place, wearing just an overcoat and roller skates and a ski mask. I never did that. Okay?
Listen, we got one last question for you, and I always let my co-host ask this because it's always been he brought it up from the jump. And
we asked this of everybody, and I'll either of you guys could answer this question. Is do you guys believe in Bigfoot, or have you ever seen Bigfoot, or know anybody that has seen Bigfoot?
No, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and I never seen anything myself, but there were a lot of very credible people that have, and not just in the Pacific Northwest, but all around the world. I mean, it's something where we don't know what it is. We don't know if it's some kind of a missing link or something, or if it's here through, another dimension, a dimensional leak, where sometimes they appear and then they go away. Nobody really knows. But the thing is that no carcass from one has ever been found, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Well,
so
I'm sure you've seen a Bigfoot at one of your shows, maybe more than one. Maybe.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you about my experience with what I don't know if it was Bigfoot or not, but like it seems like most of my girlfriends and ex-girlfriends and even my wife to this day, they were all like big fucking Stephen King fans. And if you go in one of the Stephen King movies, Pet Sematary, they got this thing called a Wendigo. Well, man, I tell you what, there was this old abandoned bridge that we used to go drink and smoke pot at, and I swear to God, the exact description of a Wendigo was at that fucking bridge several fucking times in my lifetime when I was smoking pot and drinking. He was there. Whatever a Wendigo is, that he was fucking there. It's like some kind of an Indian, Native American, whatever dude. That it was like one of their spirits. But I don't know. We would like yell out in the woods and it'd fucking yell back, and then it'd be like trees were crashing and shit, and it'd be right in front of you. And then you'd say something else or yell something, and then it'd run down the creek the other way. But I believe there's something out there. I don't know what the fuck it is, but I believe there's something.
Yeah, and what you just explained there, that's the same or similar accounts to what literally thousands of people have said. So it's something that's out there, but we just don't know.
Well, exactly and the thing was, they put the name Wendigo on it because I don't watch those Stephen King shit. I mean, I watched it and a couple other things, but I'm just not like into the horror stuff like they are. But and I was telling him what happened though, and he's like, "Oh, that sounds like something the Wendigo would do." I was like, "Well, what the fuck's a Wendigo?" And then so they got to telling me, and I was like, "Well, damn it, the Wendigo lived on fucking Oak Grove Road outside of Lynchburg, Ohio, back in the '80s. That's where that fucker lived at." So,
Jason and I are going to do a little bit of Bigfoot hunting.
It's called different things. Like in like Asia, it's called the Yeti, and then it's in like up in the Pacific Northwest, it's a Sasquatch. And so there's different names for it depending on what region of the world that you're in as well. So
and here in Pennsylvania, the women are called wildebeest. I mean,
some of the women have big feet in Pennsylvania, but Jason and I are going to do a little tour, probably like in about a year or so, and we're going to travel to some of the moonshine and festivals. And we're going to do some tattooing, but we're also going to do some Bigfoot, looking for Bigfoot. So I think during that tour, we need to show up at the man cave and catch up with you guys and, talk about Bigfoot and some other stuff and, some moonshine and all the above.
I'll tell you what, you can see the last Appalachian foothill from the Dan Cave. I'm like right at the base of the fucking hill, about 2 miles away. The last foothill of the Appalachian Mountains is right by the man cave here out at Rocky Fork Lake. So if you guys make it here, you'll have a good time.
I can see an episode called The Last Foothill. Boom.
Hell yeah.
Bigfoot, The Last Foothill.
Let's make a documentary.
We won't be talking about it. We'll be hunting for it.
Boom.
Dude, we're going to go. You guys come with us, man. We're going. Look and go. We're going, fellas. You guys are coming Bigfooting with us. All right.
Listen, the more shine we drink, I think the better chances we have of finding him.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
And I can keep the chances coming all night long, if you know what I'm saying.
Hey, listen, Bigfoot knows we're all cool dudes. He would hang out with us in a second. We got good energy going, man. Yeah. We got some good energy here.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to paper, rock, scissors him and see what he does. He'd be like, he'd pick up a tree and beat you with it. I don't know. All right. Well, listen, hey, I want to thank both of you guys. We're going to wrap it up. I just want to congratulate you. You have now been the longest episode on Heavy Metal Moonshine podcast.
Right on.
We try to keep it about an hour, but man, I mean, dude, when the conversation's rolling, I just want to tell everybody, listen, if you get a chance to buy this book, we know, people can be strapped by it, because just from hearing his stories tonight, like, dude, I apologize for getting it a little later. I blame Amazon because I would have had it sooner, but they day latered me. No
problem. Yeah.
This is the second book. I'm going to give you the honest to God's truth. You might laugh at me, right? This is only the second book in my entire life that I plan on reading since I graduated high school.
Wow.
I have not read
I feel privileged.
Same here. I don't read books, but as soon as I got that, I was like, damn it, I'm going to be interviewing Steve on Rock the Block, so I got to read some. So I sped read eight chapters. And the first interview we did only covered those 8 chapters because that's all I knew in the book.
Listen, I couldn't even read. My ADD makes it hard, so it's going to take me a minute. Like, dude, I'll be like 1 page a day. If it's 250 some days, it might take me a year to read it, bro. I promise you, I am going to get through this because you are by far the biggest celebrity that I know right now, and I can't thank you enough for being on the podcast. Man.
I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you, Steve.
Farm to Bottle. Watch out, baby.
Hey, let's do a farm to bottle festival podcast after Maggie Valley. How's that sound?
Sounds good. We're in.
Hey, I'm coming farm to bottle.
And you know what? I've got another guy that we might be able to drag on here that's a pretty good guitarist. So, I mean, if you want that, we'll do it.
Yeah, man.
All right,
good deal. Bottle, so if I don't see you, I will definitely have something for you at Farm to Bottle.
Oh, I'm expecting it. It's going back here in the man cave. I got like a whole plethora of shit that people can come here and try. It comes from all kinds of people all over the country. So
but listen, make sure you make sure. I'm going to give you 2 of everything, so you make sure. If I can't,
Steve gets some. Yeah,
Steve, I'm trying to get it to you sooner than that. Let's just put it that way. Like, that's going to be if you want. Maybe I'll see if I can overnight you something in a cold box.
There you go. Perfect.
There you go.
It'll be worth it.
Label it goat's milk.
Goat's milk.
Yeah.
Listen,
orange cinnamon goat's milk.
Listen, we got
there you go.
We got a red one. We call it Heathen's Blood. That's the best one right there.
There you go.
Gentlemen, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. You guys rock the block, baby.
Thank you so much, fellas. What a great show. Thank you. I'm not going to be able to sleep now. I won't be able to sleep tonight, though. But hey,
dude. So, until we meet again,
you got it.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Rich,
I'll talk to you.
Okay, and you as well. Peace out, everybody.
Peace out, brothers.
Don't forget to turn up the radio, baby.
Turn up the radio.
Oh, hell yeah, bro.